Good evening and a warm welcome to Big Budget Business. Our guest in studio today is Cash Wabo Moswate, the head of everyday banking, lending and cash at Stanbic Bank, Botswana. Moswate, it's a pleasure having you on Big Budget Business once again.
No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always an honor.
Thank you very much. Let's start with a brief background. Today's episode will definitely be a follow-on on what we are discussing in our last episode. But let's start with a brief background for those who might have not gotten to see the show. Who is Wabo Moswate, your background, and maybe your career path leading to where you are today?
Okay. No, thank you very much. My name is Wabo Moswate. As you have mentioned, I'm currently the head of everyday banking at Stanbic Bank, Botswana. So I've got over 11 years experience in banking. Within that time, I've had a privilege of holding multiple roles. I think my last 4 roles being the head of information systems, the head of product, the head of secured lending, and now the head of everyday banking. But my career from the get-go has always been within banking. I started as a graduate trainee within the bank, and I've managed to raise through the ranks.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live speaking to the head of everyday banking, lending and cash at Stanbic Bank, Botswana, Mr. Wabo Moswate. Please feel free to post your comments in the comment section here. We will also share a link that you can click on if you would like to call and ask some questions. In our last episode, we spoke about living within one's means, and you highlighted the aspect of budgeting. Speak to us about this aspect of budgeting as well as its importance, and maybe walk us through a basic example if you can.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that. So if you recall, in the last section, we said that, the first aspect, before you even go to budgeting, the first aspect is for you to set financial goals. So financial goals are the pinnacle to any financial ambition. So you need to set goals that are worth pursuing. What do I mean by financial goals? It can be small things like I want to get out of debt. It can be things like I want to save up enough money so that, I start my small business. So it can be things such as that. So once you have those financial goals, a budget or budgeting is just a tool, that helps you in achieving those goals. So when you look at a budget, there are quite a number of sections. So the first section would be you need to outline all your incomes. Your income can be your salary. It can be other incomes from other sources, like your rent, if you have property. If you've got dividends that are paid from certain companies, you can include that as income. From there, you have to now go into your costs. Yes. Costs are broken down into fixed and variable. So fixed costs are costs that, I'd say they are committed. Things like your rental. Okay. You have to pay your rent. It's fixed. Things like your loan installment. You can't just get out of a loan. You have to pay the installment. Things like your insurance. Those are fixed. Other things that you can look at, like I said, variable costs. That's the next aspect. So variable costs are things that are variable. They're within your control. Those are costs like your grocery. Yes. Grocery varies. It depends on your eating patterns. Electricity. Things like your airtime. These are things that are variable. Then once you've plotted your income and your costs, what you need to do is to subtract your costs from your income. So if your income is greater than your costs, what this means is that you have a surplus. Okay. You have money that you can save. But if your income, is less than your income is less than your costs, what it means is that you are living beyond your means. True. But all is not lost. What you can do is that you've got 2 options. It's either you increase your income, okay, or you cut your variable costs. So all is not lost. So that's typically a simple budget in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. I think I like the fact that you highlighted that it all starts with financial goals. If you don't have financial goals, then what's the point of budgeting all the way? And then you did say that we have to set our income against our costs, and then if our income exceeds the costs, we've got a surplus, and then if it's not, if our costs are greater than our income, then we're in the wrong, we're in the red. All right, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are speaking to the head of everyday banking, lending and cash at Stanbic Bank, Botswana, Mr. Wabo Moswate, and he's just been talking to us about the importance of budgeting. I will reiterate that we are live. Please feel free to post your comments in the comment section so that we can interact. And if you'd like to call in, we will share a link in the comment section that you can click on to call. Now, let's speak about this issue of saving. Two aspects. Number one, what's the importance of saving and how can we perhaps develop a savings culture? And number two, speak to us about savings groups, what we call metsero. Maybe just touch on that a bit.
Okay. No, thanks for that again. So what is the importance of saving? I'd like to break this down into maybe three areas. The first one is that when you have savings, like I said in the last session, you have peace of mind, you sleep better at night, you don't think about very stressful things like when is my rent, where am I going to get money to pay for my rent, where is the next meal going to come from. So savings, sort of get rid of that mental stress. So there's peace of mind. The next thing is that when you have enough savings, you've got more options. You've got a diversified option set.
Yes.
You get to explore a lot of things. I'll just give you an example by what I mean by options. Sometimes we fall sick, and there are certain things that your health insurance can't cover.
Yeah.
If you have enough surplus or enough savings, you can dip into those savings, and you can pay for your health. Prolong your life. Other things can be small things such as not small things that are actually great or they're big. So let's say, for example, you work in a stressful job. It's eating away, your mind, you're stressed. Some people who have savings, they take a break. Yeah. They quit that job, 3 months, they clear their head, they look for a job. Some people who feel that they're not progressing, quit that job, go and do their masters. So you are more in control of your future and your destiny. And the third part is that when you have savings, you experience something different, having your money work for you and not you work for money. Because when you have enough savings, you can invest it. You invest it in things like real estate and other instruments.
Okay.
The money is coming in whilst you're sleeping. The money is working for you. You're actually not working for money. Then when you talk about the issue of savings culture, I'll just bring it to the Botswana context. I'd like to focus on two aspects. The first one is how we raise our children.
Okay.
So what we need to do, in my view, is that when we raise our kids, we need to embed financial literacy, money management, as well as, making our children have that producer mindset.
Okay.
So what do I mean by that? So currently, when we raise kids, we don't talk to them about money or the importance of money.
It's like it's taboo.
It's a taboo, All we do is give them money to spend. And all they're accustomed to is, I receive money, I spend. True. We don't give them money to try out small things like take this money, sell sweets, make a profit. We don't teach them to be producers. Then we have this, this population of individuals who are mostly consumers. True. That's why sometimes, we get surprised. Someone gets a 2 million Pula lottery, or they get inheritance, and it's done in 6 months. It's because we're consumers. We're not producers. Yeah. So if we can teach our kids from the get-go about money, the importance of money, what money can do for you, what not to do with money. The next part, I'll attribute it. I don't know how things are nowadays, but back then when I was in primary to senior school, we were not taught about financial literacy, or money. We were mostly taught very complex subjects like your physics, your maths, and all of that. And you find that most of that content that we learned, we don't apply it in the real world. It was good things that we remembered, to write exams and pass. But we need to start teaching kids from the curriculum about money. Money is something that you can apply in the real world. The reason why most people are struggling right now is that you start a job, no one has ever taught you financial literacy, you have a good salary, next thing you're in turmoil. So you learn financial literacy on your own. Then when we talk about the concept of metselo, it's about saving together as a group. When you save together as a group, it's easier to raise capital and achieve certain goals. My view is, if I'm going to support anyone joining a metselo, I think quite a number of conditions must hold.
Okay.
First, get into a group with people that you know.
All right.
This group, you need to share the same purpose. You need to know what you're doing. Why are we saving together? And there needs to be commitment. Number 3 or 4, I would say security. You know, right now we've got bank accounts like your Matselo savings and Stanbic. Money needs to be kept in the financial system.
True.
And there needs to be transparency. If we are going to open that account together, you know, I should be able, if someone is transacting, I should be able to get an SMS alert.
Very
I
true.
should be able to get on online banking and see how my contributions are being spent. So if we have all those components, I think it will make sense for one to join a Motselo. Let's not just join Motselo blindly. Let's have those conditions hold so that we avoid conflicts in December and other periods. You know what happens in December.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thank you for that comprehensive answer. You did touch on very pertinent aspects here. The fact that saving is important because it sort of affords us some freedoms or options that we might not have had if we didn't have those funds, right? And also in terms of building a savings culture, you touched on the importance of financial literacy, and how even for the kids at grassroots level, it's important for them to understand finances and basic money aspects. Wow. And then you did also mention with respect to savings groups and Motselo, before Motselo, I must understand what, okay, we have a common purpose or common goal. Our goals aligned, and also transparency, because a lot of people have issues, December, like you're saying, absolutely. All right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have a comment here from Tato Kubu, who says, great lessons. Thanks, Stanbic Bank Botswana. We need more of these empowering sessions as a nation. Thank you very much, Tato Kubu, for your comment there. You've won yourself an awesome Stanbic Bank hamper. And just a side note, ladies and gentlemen, there are some individuals who did not collect their gifts, their Stanbic Bank hampers from the last episodes. Please be sure to inbox BigBudget BW. That's BIGBUDGET space BW, and then we'll give you information on how you can collect your hampers. So thank you for that, Tato Kubu. We've also just shared the link. If you'd like to call in, please click on that link and call to speak to our guest. Rewabo, let's talk now about this excess income. A lot of people find themselves with additional funds. And then you'll find that when you have these additional funds, you end up wasting them, possibly due to a lack of awareness of where you can park your money. What would you say are some of the investment instruments or avenues that we can look into as members of the public?
Yeah. So I think in line with that, you know, there are quite a number of instruments that one can look into. I think it depends on your risk profile or your risk appetite.
Okay.
Do you want low investment, low risk, low returns, or do you want high risk, high returns?
Okay.
So if someone is looking for low to medium risk in terms of returns and stability, you know, they can approach banks, they can open savings accounts and earn interest, they can open fixed deposits, they can open call deposits. There are other financial institutions that also offer interest-bearing products. That can be your asset managers.
Okay.
You know, they can look at things like your unit trusts, investing in mutual funds, and the likes. So that's low to medium risk that you can look at. Other people with excess funds look at investing in stocks. That's investing in companies.
Okay.
You can invest in stocks locally in Botswana, or you can invest in stocks abroad, whether it's the USA market through brokers and the likes. But the most important thing when you're investing, you know, you need to understand the financials of the company you're investing in. You need to understand the strategy. You also need to understand the industry. Is the industry growing or stagnant? I think we've seen in the past where there was a head mentality. There's a particular company's listing. Let's run and invest. So you need to avoid that. So you need to get all the information. When I spoke about savings, what you need to look at with savings, you need to compare the interest rate that you're getting versus inflation. If you invest in a product where the interest rate is less than inflation, you're actually losing money. But if you invest in an investment solution where the interest is greater than inflation, you're actually generating value. You may agree with me, 100 pula today, is different from 100 pula next year.
Yeah.
What you can buy with 100 pula this year, you won't be able to buy with it next year.
Especially since a few days
ago,
what happened with the petrol prices.
Yeah. So money loses value every year. So you need to compare the interest you're earning versus inflation. So it's very critical. Some people, they prefer high risk, high reward. Those are people who invest in businesses or a company. When you start a company, it can either be successful or it can fail. So it depends on your risk appetite. Yeah. So that will guide the sort of instruments that you put your funds in.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So what I gather here is you're saying that we differ as individuals and we should avoid this herd mentality. Because Wabo has decided to go and invest in something, I shouldn't just decide I'm following suit. You said that it's important for research to be undertaken and that I should get as much information as possible. And then I think you did highlight that, okay, there are brokers. So some of this information could be sought from the brokers?
Yeah. So right. you can. So for brokers, I was talking about the international market.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So everything. I mean, if you're going to look for a broker, you need to ensure that they're registered with a local entity, regulatory body. Yeah. If a business is not registered with any regulatory body, that's a red flag.
True.
So you always need to validate that as well.
Okay.
So that you secure your funds, you don't lose money. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Right. In the comment section over there, we also have Malebogo Keorapetse Khaserobe, who says, if we could do these kind of sessions every month, we will learn a lot, especially in these tough times. Thank you so much for that, Malebogo. That is very true. We're certainly learning a lot. For your comment there, Malebogo, you have won yourself an awesome Stanbic Bank hamper. Please be sure to DM or inbox BigBudget BW. That's BIGBUDGET space BW, and we'll give you information as to how you can collect your hamper. Right. So we've been speaking about investments, our risk appetite, getting information about that. Now let's talk about some of, as a professional in the financial industry, some of the scams or the traps that a lot of us find ourselves falling into. What are you aware of and how can we safeguard ourselves?
Yeah, so there are quite a number, of scams out there. I think what scams seek to do, they prey on our lack of information. Some prey on our generosity. Some prey on our desire to get rich quickly.
Absolutely.
Or greed, in a nutshell. So there are quite a number of scams out there. So I'll just try and list them as we go and as I remember them. So
all right.
One of them, it can be a lottery or prize scam, where you receive an email or you're on a website and you get like I don't know if it's a pop-up. It says you've won.
You are the 999 whatever visitor of the site.
Yeah, you've won. And they will say, because you have won, click here and give us your banking details and your personal information. And you have to pay a fee, to claim your prize.
Exactly.
So it's always very important that, you remember, have I ever entered this competition? If you have not entered such a competition, do not click on those spam emails. Do not click on those pop-ups because, these fraudsters are going to get your personal information and they're going to utilize it for other things and clean you out. We have seen, fraud such as, your telephone scams. Yeah, where they call you, we can invest your money, you've won X, or we've got a product that we want to give to you. And, because, some of us are trusting, we end up falling for that. Some are aggressive. They will call you and they will tell you, you need to pay them for a certain thing. If you don't do that, they're taking you to jail. There's a lawsuit. So some people end up getting scared and providing their personal information. So the most important thing, don't entertain such calls. If you see a call ID that you don't understand, if you are in a call that sounds suspicious, just hang up. The other thing that we have seen that's coming up is your charity fraud or scams. what this people do is that, you know, they prey on the generosity of people. If there's a disaster somewhere, they'll create a fake charity and they will say you should donate. And once you've clicked on that, you've provided some information, they'll keep pestering you, calling you, when are you donating? So it's always very important, you know, to check if that charity is registered and you know, it's legitimate.
True.
Some scams are quite complex. I'll start with a pyramid scheme.
Okay.
Yeah. So with a pyramid scheme, what this fraud, I'll not say fraudsters or scammers. What normally happens in pyramid schemes is that you find that for the pyramid scheme to sustain itself, it has to take investments from new members and pay those investments to people who have been in that scheme longer. Yeah, so the people who were there first, you know, tend to benefit. So if we are unable to get more new members, you know, the pyramid schemes sort of collapses. So people need to check for certain things. If right now you are involved in sort of whether it's a business or a company, where for you to increase your profits, you have to recruit more members, or for you to get your initial investment, you have to recruit more members. You might be part of a pyramid scheme. So what you need to avoid, you know, is any business, you know, that offers you high returns quickly. You know, that's sort of a red flag. Or any sort of business that requires you, you know, to recruit members to make money. The products that they're selling you to sell to your other members, why can't they sell them directly to customers? So that's something you need to think about. We have a Ponzi scheme. This is a form of an investment scam where we get investments from new members. Then we give those investments as profits to current members of that, or current investors. So how you sustain this? You keep getting new investors so that you can give money to current. And you have to encourage the current investors not to cash out. Because if they cash out, you know, it sort of distorts the whole system. And we have seen examples of Ponzi schemes where people lost hundreds of millions and the like. So we need to be wary of such. Then the last one, I don't want to touch on many things. I'll mention the last two.
Please do.
Government grants. There was a scam that was running in Botswana some years ago where they used the Minister of Trade. They will say, click here, then you get a grant, give us this information, pay this fee to be eligible for the grant. So those are sort of some of the other things. The last one, we need to be wary of people who say they can increase our money. If I'm able to increase your money, why can't I sit at home and increase my money? Yeah. So I've never seen any wealthy person who makes money off increasing other people's money. So what it means is that you are the target market, you are the client. Yeah. So just be wary of some of those things. Get rich quick. Things that you don't understand, just stay away from them because they can be very risky.
Wow, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on Big Budget Business, speaking to the head of everyday lending, everyday banking, lending and cash, Mr. Wabo Moswate at Stanbic Bank. Now, we've been touching on a lot of issues, savings, investments, budgeting, but just to round up on this issue of your scams, let's go through them again. Number one, you did say there's the Ponzi scheme. There's pyramid schemes, there's charity type schemes, there's also, what else? Lottery schemes, yes. And then government grants also, where they masquerade as if they're government agencies. I think also it's important once again for us to have full information. So before we get into these investments, it's important for us to have as much information and undertake as much research as possible. We have some more comments here. Sadi Moore, who says, pyramid schemes are red flags, eye-opening topic. Thank you so much for that. And then we have Teboho Musalakatane, who says, nice topic. Can we please discuss offshore investing next time, the basics for those who want to buy stocks outside the country. I think you mentioned this in passing. Can you just, basics, the foundation of offshore investing, how we can invest?
Yeah, so it depends. So there's offshore investing where you're putting money in certain instruments, financial instruments.
Okay.
So my advice would be deal with a reputable banker,
okay,
or a bank,
okay,
that offers those offshore investments. That's more secure.
Okay.
Yeah, because
okay.
you're investing in certain funds and all of that. Then if you're going to invest in stocks, look for reputable brokers that that you can validate. Validate either through a regulatory body in that particular market that you want to invest in, but validation is very key. So those are the two components. In stocks, validate the brokers. If you're going to do offshore investment in certain financial instruments, I would advise that start by doing it through a bank. Then if you're more comfortable later on, you can find other brokers that are reputable that can help you with that.
Thank you so much for that. So offshore investing is basically us investing outside of our own domestic market. And then you did say make sure that we look for reputable banks and reputable brokers. So it's important for us to ensure that they are regulated in whatever jurisdictions that we'd like to invest in. So lastly, how can we access the services of your specific department as well as the services of Stanbic Bank in general?
Yeah, so if you want to access Stanbic Bank services, call 398-7801. So what we normally do is that, this is our contact center. If you want to request any service, they will link you to the right department. So I'll urge anyone to, contact that number, then you will be routed to the right service provider within the bank. We've got so many services, so they act as a gateway for us and our clients.
Okay, wonderful. You said the number was?
398-7801.
398-7801. Ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. We've been speaking on issues such as savings, investments, budgeting, as well as the scams and schemes that we need to be aware of with the head of everyday banking, lending and cash at Stanbic Bank Botswana, Mr. Wabo Moswate. Moswate, let me thank you so much for having been on Big Budget Business.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure it was an informative session for you also. Thank you so much for having joined us. From me, Big Budget, and the team that makes it happen, Black Network, Moana Pictures, it's good night and God bless. Not forgetting, of course, Stanbic Bank. Once again, good night and God bless. And never forget that you were born for so much more.